So in this video, we are going to be starting to add what some people call top loops, what some people kind of called percussion loops. It just really depends what types of genre, I guess, you come up producing. But a top loop is something that kind of accentuates different rhythmic pockets, that kind of has some nice counter rhythms to your hi-hats. So you'll use percussive instruments, maybe like some hand percussion, kind of any type of drum sound that doesn't fit like a typical snare, typical clap, or kick, or hi-hat. And you can make it really pacey, you can make it kind of slow, and that's what we're going to do to kind of fill out some parts of this little drum groove that we've been making. Now, in the video after this, we're going to talk about Foley. So we're going to be looking with percussion more in this video, like top loops and percussion. Then we're going to move to Foley, and we're going to finish up the course talking about fills. So let's get into Logic right now. So I did add another ride cymbal in between videos, and I changed up the instrumental just a little bit so we're not listening to the same instrumental the whole time throughout this course. So this is what we have right now, and I've muted the kicks, but it will still make sense. So the snares are all the same. The hi-hat loop that we talked about, I just added this little ride cymbal here. Let me mute Maschine real quick. Right, real simple, real basic. But now our whole hi-hat pattern is like this. Right, snares we've already visited. Let's check out the percussion sans the kicks right now. Okay, now I added a lot more kicks. I went kind of ham on that. So if you remember in the beginning of the tutorial course, we were kind of keeping it simple, right? Well, I've been building this groove out more and more as we've gone, and you can see that the kick track right here in purple, we have a lot of kicks right now. So this is more of a frenetic sounding future bass drum groove, but let's listen to it. I did want that one muted in there. So that sounds pretty cool. I actually really like that, kind of crazy. I even have a little lead that I was dinking around with. We can put that in as well. Now, the reason why I'm showing you these instruments, and you might be like, why? It's a drum course. Well, because we're trying to make top loops. And top loops, we need to know where the space lies. And we also want to add some fills and some Foley. So those will be happening in the subsequent videos. So we want to kind of hit the spaces. And if you're going to have a lead melody, I would suggest doing the fills and kind of the top loops after you have at least the scratch track idea in place. That way you know you're not going to put a part of a drum fill where a turnaround is occurring on your melody. So let's listen to this together now. All right, so that's what we're working with. Let's jump into the Maschine. And if you guys are wondering why I'm saying Maschine, that's actually how it's pronounced. I know most people say machine, and it makes me feel weird too hearing it pronounced Maschine. All right, anyway, I have a couple kits pulled up. We have a perk kit. I made these for the Future Bass drum pack that I made. We have a bunch of different percussion kits, and these are literally just percussive sounds, and this is what we're going to kind of use to just be our guide for trying to find something that we can make a top loop with. So again, you don't have to know anything about Maschine. You don't have to understand what's going on with Maschine. Just think of it as a sequencer that allows me to create some MIDI progressions and an easy way to get samples into a drum group. So let's make sure you can see that right now I'm on one sound. And if I play a key here on my keyboard, which you can hear in the background, it just pitches that up. So in Maschine, I am going to go to the group tab here. We're going to turn on MIDI. So now each key will be different. And that's really cool because then I can just dink around on the keyboard and kind of find like some type of pattern or some type of range of keys for sounds that kind of fit the track. So let me turn off the mic and I'm going to dink around with that right now. All right, so I kind of like some of those different things I was playing in right now. And I could either play those in on the keys, or I could sequence them in the machine editor. Now, I feel like actually kind of playing these in as we go, so I'm going to make sure that I'm deleting any pattern scenes here in Machine. And let me just play these in. So let's turn off the mic, and we're going to see what happens. All right, so off camera, I bounced that first top loop to a audio track, which you see right here, this top one. And then I just recorded that second one in on top of it, pun intended. So the reason why you call these top loops, there's a couple of them actually. First, I would say it's because they sit on top of the drum groove. And second, the sounds that you're typically going to use for a top loop are higher frequency based sounds that kind of sit up with hi-hats and higher pitched or higher frequency snares. Maybe you're rolling off some of the lows, that sort of thing. So it's not like bassy type instruments, because that's just going to conflict with your kick and your bass. So we have two tracks now of a top loop, and I'm going to bounce this second one to audio right now. All right, so now we have the audio of both of those, and we can mute and turn off Machine for now. So let's just solo these. These are the top loops I created. All right, pretty simple. Now, it's a little bit simple just because we have quite a bit going on right now in this drop. The kicks are everywhere, which I like. We have quite a bit of hi-hats, and we have, of course, the snares. So let's listen to some of these in scaled back isolation so you can understand how they work. So here's the kicks, snare, the ride, and then the top loop. All right, so you can see this one hit, for instance, right here on the top loop. Doesn't really work because that's where the kick is occurring. So I have two options at this point. Either delete that, pan it out left and right, so it is not going to be conflicting with the center of my stereo field, or mute the kicks where that's happening and kind of see how we like that feel. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pan one of these out to the right, and we're going to pan one out to the left a little bit. And let's turn these down quite a bit, because this one's a little bit loud. You don't want the top loop overtaking the actual drum groove. It's just something to kind of make it sound fuller. And a lot of times you use just top loops, maybe get real basic with the top loop on the first 8 bars or 4 bars of a drop section or a section of a track, and then the next 4 or 8 you get a little bit more hits here and there and make it kind of pop out more so you can add that rule of 8 into your production. Right, we got some cool sounds happening. That karaoke right there is kind of cool. So let's turn off the lead for right now and let's listen and see how we like it. All right, so this instrument right here would be much better suited actually to pop that in the space right after where the chord sound ends. So let's listen to that. All right, that's pretty cool for a top loop. It's starting to work. Now, something you might want to be aware of as you're doing this is definitely cut out some of the low frequencies. Like I said, you don't want these conflicting with your bass. You don't want to add more troublesome frequencies to your mix. It's hard enough to get the low end to sound good, clean, and huge. All right, so that sums up this top loop video. You can really do a lot with top loops. I have another top loop here that I've actually hidden. Let's call that guy up. Here it is. So you can get an example, and this is one from another production that I've done, but let's check it out right now. Right, that would be just way too frenetic with all these kicks. Kind of makes it sound like break beats. But it's another example where you can get as complex with this as you want, or you don't even have to do it. It really depends how sparse you want your production, but that is something that is a part of FutureBass. So I thought I would share it with you and you see how it's created and kind of the tricks of the trade with creating some top loops with some percussive instruments. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next video.